Oh, Matt Damon, you showed up for the paycheck, but you left the acting skills at home. Hi everyone, my name is Chris and welcome to Tread Talks, where I walk on this treadmill to stay in shape while making videos for you fine people. The Great Wall is a movie that had quite a bit of controversy before its release, because of the casting of Matt Damon as the lead in a movie about the Great Wall of China. But I don't think the studio needs to worry about any backlash. There's enough bland mediocrity here to ensure that any controversy will quickly be forgotten. Now going into this, I wasn't really looking forward to it, but I have to say that the first third of the movie is decently entertaining, and that's because the movie does a good job of setting up the main characters and their relationships to each other, and also the introduction of the Great Wall and all the players there. That was fun to watch, and a lot of the practical production design is really nice, especially the designs for the weapons and the armor, and there's a great use of color that is functional from a story perspective, but also helps us to keep track of what's going on the screen. And so for the first third of the movie, I was pleasantly surprised. It wasn't amazing, but it was mildly entertaining and decently creative. But let's talk about the characters that we're following here. The main character is William, played by Matt Damon, and he's a European mercenary who's traveling to China in search of this ultimate weapon known as black powder. He wants to steal some and get rich off of it. And along with him you have Pedro Pascal, who you probably first got to know through Game of Thrones. He plays Tovar. And on the Great Wall they meet Commander Lin Mei, played by Tian Jing. This triangle of folks are the three main people that you see interacting throughout the course of the movie. And it's in these interactions that the weirdest acting dynamic plays out. Whenever William and Tovar are interacting with each other, there's a little bit of chemistry there, and enough acting to overcome the stiltedness of the dialogue. But whenever you have William interacting with Lin Mei, everything changes. It's like they're reading from cue cards. Everything is stilted and wooden. My theory is that Matt Damon was simply matching whoever he was playing against. And Pedro Pascal, he's witty and charismatic and interesting, and so that's great for their scenes. But Tian Jing, when she's acting in English, she's none of those things. And then Willem Dafoe shows up for this subplot about stealing the black powder, and he does a decent job as this conniving thief who just wants to get away, but it doesn't really add much to the movie. Now in terms of character development, the only character that really changes throughout the course of the movie is William, but it kind of falls flat. We get his backstory through some exposition halfway through the movie. Any character development or any growth happens by way of him thinking really intensely about what he should do next. And so there's no real emotional payoff to his arc at the end of the movie. And the plot of the movie is often obvious and contrived. Just to give you an example that doesn't spoil too much, there's no reason for William and Tovar to be up on the Great Wall during the first battle, except that the story needed to give them an opportunity to show off their skills. Or in another scene, there's no reason for Commander Lin to take William up to show him the acrobatic weapons, except that the story wanted an opportunity to really hammer home the main theme of the movie. William, you only fight for food and money. We trust each other and fight for something greater than ourselves. Well, I am not going to try your acrobatic weapon because I only trust myself. It really felt this stilted. So we have a little bit of chemistry between some of the characters, a lot of stilted dialogue, character development that feels forced, and a plot that feels contrived. All that we have left at this point is the action spectacle to keep us interested. But unfortunately, the main thread of the movie comes through these computer-generated characters known as the Tao-Ts, and they aren't very convincing. In fact, it reminded me more of a video game cutscene than anything else, which made it difficult to suspend disbelief and to really care what was happening. It just didn't feel real. And on top of that, the action choreography was flashy, but also impractical and unbelievable to the point of being ridiculous. Matt Damon's character has the archery skills of Hawkeye combined with Katniss on steroids, and so it never felt like he was in any danger. And so it was entertaining, but fake and empty. Now before I wrap up, I do want to address some of the controversy surrounding the casting of Matt Damon. The movie was basically accused of three things. That it would be a movie that promoted white or Western superiority, that it was going to be a white savior movie, and that casting Matt Damon was an instance of whitewashing. First, when it comes to promoting white or Western superiority, it doesn't really feel like the movie does that. The three non-Chinese characters are all less advanced, whether you're talking about morally or technologically. They're all in awe of the Great Wall and the scope of the army. They all call themselves honorless thieves. And the character arc for Matt Damon is that he grows by being willing to risk his life for the greater good, a theme that's very popular in Chinese culture and entertainment. And so basically you have the white character growing by becoming more Chinese, and not the other way around. Now, when it comes to whether this is another instance of a white savior movie, I'm not entirely sure that it is. Yes, his archery skills are critical for defeating the enemy, but it doesn't happen because he becomes their teacher or their leader. Instead, it's because he puts aside his selfishness and is willing to team up with Commander Lin to help her defeat the Taoties. So I could see it going in that direction as well. And finally, when it comes to whether this is an instance of whitewashing, I think the answer is technically no. Whitewashing is when you take a character that's supposed to be a person of color or a minority and you replace them with a white actor. An instance of this would be how they handled the casting for The Last Airbender. But in this script, from the very beginning, it was always supposed to center around a European mercenary. In fact, it's pretty central to the story that this be a person who's in search of black powder and who grows by embracing some of the Chinese value system. And so replacing the character with an Asian actor wouldn't really make sense here. I think what people were ultimately clamoring for would be an instance where there could be a big budget Hollywood movie that actually had an Asian lead. We would be looking for a different script altogether to convey this story about the Great Wall of China. And honestly, that's what's a little bit sad about how mediocre this film turned out. Because this was the largest China-US co-production ever. And there's a certain amount of hope that was riding on this movie, that it would be that first step toward China becoming a real global power when it comes to the entertainment industry. And if they do succeed in that, then I think we would see blockbuster movies with big budgets that have Asian leads. But because of how mediocre this film is, I worry that it's going to slow down that progress. So ultimately, The Great Wall was initially interesting and visually pleasing, but then after the first major battle, it settles into this groove of blandness that it never escapes from. It's mediocre and forgettable. Okay, so that was The Great Wall, and this week I have a special request. I need your help because I'm trying to come up with a rating system for movies, something that's simple but also interesting. So if you have any idea, go ahead and put it in the comments. Hopefully it triggers something good on this end. And beyond that, if you haven't already and you want to see my upcoming videos, please subscribe. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.